Hello, basketball fans. It's me, DC, here for Fantasy Basketball Analyzer to help you get ready for week 23 of the fantasy basketball season, week 24 of the NBA season, to break down the waiver wire. Now, this video is going to be weird. As in weird, I just mean not the same way I do every single waiver wire week, because a big thing is going to be about streaming this week, schedule matchups. If you're still playing, you're in your semifinals or your championship, because we're 2 weeks from the end of the season. Most teams have about 7-8 games left. Some have 9. As of Sunday, by the time you're watching this, that might be past. So I'm going to run through at the top the obvious names, people I see trending that are being picked up, whether I'm kind of for or against that. And on the second half of the show, I might actually have more names that I recommend you pick up based on their schedule, based on the streaming. So hang in there with me. We're going to talk about a lot of basketball today. For starters, Davion Mitchell is playing well for the Kings. He's 53% rostered, so he's more than we normally talk about for the waiver wire. The thing is he has 4 games this week. Like most teams have 4 games, but none of them are on the streaming day. So while Davion's playing well, 22-7-9 for his last game, 25-1-7 before that, 28-3-9. I like these box scores, but these heavy game days with 10, 11, 12 games throughout the week, you might not be able to work him in. If he's out there on your waiver wire, which is about half a league's, a little bit less, you might not be able to punch him in there except maybe Monday with a 9-game day. And that doesn't do you any good. That's not going to help you win if he's not working in. Now, if you're without Ja Morant or Curry or someone who's injured, Davion could be great for you. So I want to mention him here at the top, but he's not going to fit a lot of people's situations. Similarly, Trey Mann for OKC. OKC's tanking. Shea's been limited or shut down, going back and forth. Giddey's been out. Trey's playing really well. 12-5-3, 21-2-1, 35-7-4 with 7 3-pointers against Boston, like in a legit matchup. These are good games. So he might get a lot of run, but all 4 games on the schedule are bad games. Oklahoma plays those same 4 days. They have Portland, Atlanta, Detroit. You like the matchups. Phoenix to end the week, but they're all on the heavy game days. 41% rostered. He's available in about 60% of leagues. Similar thing before. Not going to help you if you're healthy because your game days are going to be so loaded on those days. But he is playing well, and his numbers are going to look better than some of the guys I recommend you picking up this week. Still in this boat of players playing well that I don't think help you win your fantasy matchup, which is weird to talk about. Tyus Jones for the Grizzlies. I talked about him in our weekly preview. If you didn't watch that, click over here right now and come back to this video, because the second half of this is all going to be about the weekly preview, because that's what's going to help you win this matchup, honestly. Tyus Jones is playing well. Ja Morant hurt his knee. I'm pretty sad about it. They said he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Whenever someone says reevaluated in 2 weeks, I never interpret that as going to be back in 2 weeks. That said, it's like 2.5 weeks away from the playoff. I imagine he's going to be back. Ja's status is sore knee. That's not a real diagnosis. Like, are they just resting him, or did he hurt something and they haven't identified it, or they don't want to release it? None of that matters. Tyus Jones is playing. He's playing well. He's a big reason the Grizzlies can keep moving when they lose a superstar player like Ja Morant. His last few games, 13-4-10, 11-3-5, 16-10, 13-3-7. Get you a couple 3-pointers, get you a steal a game. It's really nice. The Grizzlies only have 3 games this week, which most teams have 4. One even has 5. So that's not great. Monday, you could use him against Golden State. The other 2 are high volume days. They got 4 games next week. He's a better player as long as he's starting than a lot of the other guys. But once again, just broken record. If you don't get to put him in your starting lineup for your fantasy league, you're not going to win with it. It doesn't matter that you got a good player sitting on the bench. I think we got to be a little more judicious about where we're making pickups this week. So with that, I'm looking at Killian Hayes from Detroit. They've got 4 games this week, 2 of them on the good streaming days. Killian's playing well, but not explosive. You know, he's not blowing you away. 10-6-4, 13-8-5, 12-5-6. I would count on him to get you about 11 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and either a steal or a block. Probably a steal, maybe a block every other game, something like that. I've seen him have a low field goal percentage in prior seasons and this season, stuff like that. Even on the season, he's averaging like 36% from the floor, which makes it look like he's going to tank your field goal percentage, but he's averaging that on 6 shots. That's not going to impact. You got Harden or someone in your lineup. Killian Hayes is negligible. He's not going to sink your lineup here in the playoffs. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think Killian could help you. You grab the 2 games against Brooklyn and Philly on Tuesday and Thursday when there's only 5 games each. He'll definitely play for you. He'll chip in a little bit for everything. In Categories League, I really like this move. Another Categories League, I'm considering Pat Connaughton. He's playing more for the Bucks now. It's only about 20 minutes a game, getting you like between 9 and 16 points over the last 4 games, what we're looking at. So we're talking like a 12-point average, Get you about 5 rebounds, which is nice if you play him at shooting guard. That's a pretty solid plug in there. Get you 5 rebounds. He has good percentages. Get you about 3 3-pointers a game. All of those things you like, but it's really more of a categories move. Sure, those condense in a points league, and they'll get you something. The Bucks have an all right schedule. They play 2 of their 4 games on the good streaming days. So I'm plugging him in, looking for threes, all right rebounds. If I'm looking for him at shooting guard, it's still okay at small forward, but there's a difference depending on who's getting bumped out of the lineup. But the point is, on the 5 game days, you're probably not bumping anyone out of the lineup. 20% roster is available in 80% of league and can help you for at least 2 of the days, if not all 4. We're going bigger as we go through these guys. Obi Toppin. I haven't really talked about him a lot this year. Part of it's the Knicks rotation and been crazy, but he's playing well. 15-8, 18-11 with 6 assists, 10-7-3. These are pretty solid, great field goal percentages. He's 23% rostered, pick him up in 77% of leagues. Now, New York does not have as strong of a schedule as some of these other teams. They've got 4 games, one of them on streaming day on Saturday, so maybe you wait. Maybe just make a little note for yourself, slap a post-it note up, grab Obi Toppin when the weekend comes. He's got the back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. Sunday's loaded. The only exception to that is on Monday when there's only 9 games, they play Chicago. He's playing well. You might be interested. I don't know that he's worth adding all week, though. He's got 4 games, depends on what you want there. He's shipping in okay points, really solid rebounds without hurting you any percentages, which is similar to Isaiah Hartenstein for the Clippers, but Isaiah has a little bit better of a schedule. They've got 4 games, but he gets to play on Tuesday and Thursday, so 2 low-volume days. You'll definitely get to work him in against Utah and Chicago. Maybe not when he plays the Bucks and Pelicans later in the week. 14% rostered, so 86% of you guys can go pick him up. He's got 16-9-4, 17-2-5, 4-9-8. You don't love the 4, but we're really looking for the 9. You get 8 assists out of your center. You love that, right? He's only playing 20 minutes a game, but I'll take the 20 minutes, get you 4 assists and 9 rebounds. You plug this guy out on the low volume days, and you might get more use out of him than Obi. I feel like these guys are in the same range, all of them. Killian, Connaughton, Obi, Isaiah. Maybe I'd pick up Isaiah over Obi, but they're going to fit your schedule pretty well without being on like the Cavs, which we will talk about in this video, who have a 5-game week. A couple other quick names that didn't make it, maybe honorable mention, but their schedule they weren't as explosive as Tyus Jones or something helping. Jared Vanderbilt, if you're looking for some rebounds, 34% rostered. They've got 3 games and they're not on good scheduled days. Jose Alvarado for the Pelicans. Great nickname, but bad schedule this week. The Pelicans have 3 games, the exact same days as Minnesota I was just talking about, so you might not get to work him in there with this Wednesday, Friday, Sunday schedule. Looking at the box scores, this is great. 23-5-5, 15-1-7 with 3 steals, 1-7-4. He only played 23 minutes there. Got back up 24 minutes. Not that big a difference. Maybe I shouldn't discount the minutes. 15-4-4. Like, it's good. He's filling out the box score. He's 35% rostered. I don't think he helps you as much this week as I would want someone to. And Damian Jones is in the same camp. Big man playing for the Kings right now. He's playing well. 15-5, 12-6, 13-7. He's only 4% rostered. So if you need some rebounds, he's out there 96% of the league. You could pick him up. Good percentages, fine points, rebounds, nothing to write home about. Widely available, but the Kings don't play on the correct days. It's all 4 of the high volume days. The exception being they do play Houston twice, which is going to be a good matchup, a good chance to put up numbers. So depending on what your team looks like, you could pick him up midweek, hope he goes off in those 2 Houston matchups, even though it's on high volume days. Maybe that's slightly better than something else you have going there at the end of your active roster in the utility slot, but maybe not. I encourage you to look right now, think about what your team looks like for the week before making these moves. You want to gain at least 2 games with every pickup if possible. The minimum's 1 game. If you're picking someone up and you don't get to play him, it defeats the purpose. So Damian Jones, throwing the name out there, not going to fit for a lot of you guys, but he's got some interesting matchups in the middle of the week, and he's probably going to be sitting there because he's 96% available. All right, we've entered the second half of the video. Here's where we switch our tactic completely. We talk about some guys that aren't doing as well as who we just talked about. Like, there are better numbers on the waiver wire, the guys we just talked about, but these might have a better impact for you depending on how your team looks. As I talked about in the preview video, like I said, go check it out. Cleveland has 5 games this week. That's a huge deal. That's a lot of minutes, even if players aren't playing well. So while I want to recommend Kevin Love at 68% roster, Lauri Markkanen at 77% roster, you're not going to get to pick him up in most leagues. They're, usually rostered. So we're going to talk about some other guys. Right now, I'm going to just crowd the screen with box scores of people who are available. I'm already showing the minutes here of what these rotations look like. I'm trying to pick out some guys. Lamar Stevens. He's playing really well right now. He's 2% rostered. He's available in 98% of leagues. 16-6-2, 16-6-1, 15-5-0. Getting you a steal or a block each of those games. Giving you a little 3. Like, that's great. And with the 5-game week, Lamar Stevens could be a difference maker for your team. Against the Bulls, he got 13-4-1. Again, nothing to write home about, but if you get all 5 games out of him, and I'm not sure you can, depends on how slammed your weeks are on these high volume days, that's going to add up to a lot more than a guy who gets you 2 games at, similar numbers. Obviously, that's just basic math. I'm just trying to make sure we're thinking about this in the correct way. I'm going to go here for a moment and just show the Bulls versus Cavs box score. It's up here. You can pause if you want to check it out. Obviously, you can just go to the website and take a look too. But in case any of these player profiles I'm showing aren't including that, then you're going to want to know that because we've talked about Cleveland. Now we're going to go talk about the Bulls, who have the best streaming schedule for this week. So here are the minutes for the Bulls. You can see it, and it also fluctuates depending on, is DeMar available? Is Zach available? How are these guys playing? The Bulls have had to deal with, I want to say, more injuries than most teams. It's not totally true because you look at the Clippers without Kawhi and PG, that's more impactful. But the Bulls have had so many guys in and out, losing Caruso, losing LaMelo, all that stuff. By now, in this season, you should know what the status of the Bulls is like. So with that, Caruso's, I'm going to bring up all the names here, right? But Caruso's the one I really would recommend targeting the most. 38% rostered, so he's available in more than half of leagues. He's looking all right, 10, 8, 7, and 2. You're not going to complain about that. That one's actually against Cleveland. It was a good enough game that I went and updated his player profile from the one that I got before the game Saturday. Before that, 11, 1, and 2, 3, 5, and 6. Obviously, you prefer the 10, 8, and 7, but you get 5 and 6 and you can play him at point guard. Like, that's solid. The Bulls have 4 games. All 3 are on the good streaming days that are available. And his 4th game is on the lowest volume day. It's Monday. It's that 9-game day. They're the only team that's got the back-to-back Monday and Tuesday. I like this ad a lot, and he's available in most of your leagues. I think he could help. If you can't get him, it gets riskier. We're talking Io, 32% rostered. He had 4, 4, and 5, 7 and 1, 11 and 2. Like, none of these are exciting. Last night against Cleveland, he got 11, 5, and 2. It's a little better. Io's a good player. He was a 2nd-round pick. He contributes a lot for the team, but if he's not getting extreme minutes, and some of these are 32-minute games, then I don't know that he brings enough to pack a fantasy punch. But that said, if he's playing for you on these days, that's better than some of the Devian Mitchell not getting into your lineup because of how his schedule looks this week. Kobe White could fall into this, but I don't know what we're getting from it. He had a dud game against Cleveland, played plenty of minutes, and didn't do much if you paused at the box score and took a look at it. Or you could rewind, or like I said, just open a website. The game before that, though, against Pelicans, 23, 3, and 6 with 5 3-pointers. If I get that, awesome. But if I get the game before that against the Bucks, 5 with 2 assists, you like 2 steals, but there's only a 6-minute difference between those 2 different outputs, and I don't know which one we're going to get. It's maybe worth the gamble if you get him on 3 streaming days, so I can't rule him out. 32% roster, go grab him in 68% of leagues. Pat Williams just isn't doing enough. He's just coming back. I didn't really expect him to, but the other week I mentioned to put him on the watch list, so I'm bringing him up now. Like, good for the Bulls that he's back. Glad we get to see a little of him before they go into the playoffs, before it goes into next year, because we've seen such a small sample size of Patrick Williams for his career, but I don't think he's going to help you for fantasy. Philly's got a good schedule this week. They play 4 games, all 3 on the streaming days. The last one's not as good because it's on Sunday, which is a heavy load day. Unfortunately, the team, besides their superstars, doesn't have a ton of depth for fantasy. Sorry, Keith, I'm not trying to crap on your team. I know you're a fan. I'm sure we have other Philly fans here in the comments too. Go ahead, shout it out. Hopefully you're excited for the playoffs. Anyway, I went through Philly's team. You can see him up here. I don't know, there's a ton of big excited about. DeAndre Jordan, if you're looking for a big, is only 3% rostered. If you want specifically rebounds in your category matchup, sure. But look at the box scores. We're talking 2 and 9, 9 and 7, 2 and 8. The one game he only played 11 minutes, 2 rebounds. We're going to ignore that. But he's going to get you 7 rebounds. You can pretty much count on that. So if you want to pick someone up that's going to get you 21 rebounds across the 3 good streaming days, cool. He might even exceed that. But you're not counting on him for much else. You might get a block. Field goal percentage is low, but he doesn't shoot a lot, so I'm not worried about it. Shake Milton's interesting, but I can't count on him. 5% rostered. All these guys, there's a reason that the roster is so low, so they might be able to help you, but if you get 7, 2, and 5, cool. If you get 25 and 6, awesome. But if you get 3, 2, and 1, you're disappointed. If you play them throughout the week, you might get 1 game of each of those. Like, exciting, 25 and 6, 7, 2, and 5 is solid. 3, 2, and 1 is really disappointing. He shoots a lower field goal percentage. Most of the time he doesn't shoot enough to kill you, but he might not have as big of an impact as even some of the big men that I talked about where you can just count on getting 7 rebounds because I don't know what I'm going to get from Shake any given game. If you're looking for defense and you don't grab Caruso, Matisse Thybulle is always an option. Similar situation where it's going up and down. He's 41% rostered. Honestly, that's just too high a roster percentage unless you're using him for his niche, steals and blocks. I mean, you get that game against Toronto where you got 3 steals and 4 blocks. You're feeling great about it. Who cares that 12 points, 2 rebounds, and no assists? Like, you'll take the 12 and 2 because you're focusing on that. But you're going to get games with 4-2 with 2 steals and a block. You're playing him for the defense and nothing else. If you need those defensive stats in your categories league, I grab them. Obviously, in a points league, the defensive stats add up, but maybe not enough over some of these other guys who could possibly go off for 20 points, and I don't see him doing that. If you're looking for 3-pointers, I consider Gorgie Jang, but nothing else. Like, these are all category moves if I'm looking at Philly. Beyond that, Brooklyn also has a great schedule here. They only have 3 games, but all 3 are on the good waiver days, so you don't get that 4th extra game of the teams we're talking about. There's no obvious moves here, though. I would look at Patty Mills, maybe a little too high roster if you're looking for 3s, but with Kyrie getting to play all the home games, maybe he doesn't do exactly as much. I consider Nick Claxton 26% rostered. You know, get you 10-5, 7-6, something like that. Nothing big, but again, on 3 streaming days, maybe that matters more. I'm going to just cut it off there and not break down the whole team again because this video is going real long. Thanks for sticking with it till the end. If I've somehow missed someone you're considering, leave it in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. Let's talk about it. I hope you're doing well and finishing out this week that's ending up. I'm recording on Sunday. You might not be watching till Monday. Hope that's well. Hope you're alive in the playoffs. And if not, we're going to try and be zen about it, right? The measure of a fantasy player is making the playoffs. It's a little too random to control what happens after that. So do your best. And whether on the fantasy basketball court or in real life, go out and win your week. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. It helps me grow the channel. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe or even the little bell will give you alerts. And I'll be back soon with another video for you.